Hi, everyone. Great to see you all today. I think we have people starting to come in to our LinkedIn Live today. And I'm Michelle Merritt. I'm the Chief Strategy Officer here at D&S Executive Career Management. And I want to welcome you to our conversation today about translating your DEI experience for this changing job market. This is a popular topic right now. It is a topic that we know so many of you are facing and trying to decide how to handle. And so we decided we wanted to make sure to get some information out to as many people as we could and share some of our expertise. So again, my name is Michelle Merritt. I'm the Chief Strategy Officer here at D&S. And what is D&S Executive Career Management? We are truly that, a career management firm. Our CEO, Deborah, will often say we are like the home stagers that make a property look expensive to put on the market. We help our executive clients and our management clients build strong resumes, LinkedIn profiles, board resumes. We help with board searches, that kind of thing. And then we do a large amount of coaching around job strategy, around interviewing, and around compensation negotiation. Norma and I both work with clients in those areas. So our team is here and ready to help you. If you have questions, I'm going to have you reach out to our client success director, Carmen. Carmen Poff is an amazing member of our team, and she can guide you through the services, timelines, and fees that make sense based on your unique need. And Carmen will put her information in the chat for you as well. And while she's doing that, I'm going to introduce to you my colleague, Norma Dilla. Norma is our Director of Coaching, newly promoted, I'm happy to say, Director of Coaching here at D&S. So I'll let Norma introduce herself in just a minute. One thing I do want to share and just remind everyone of as we move forward in this conversation today, this may run a little longer than our 30-minute typical LinkedIn Live, and that's okay. If you can hang around and the conversation keeps going, we want to be able to provide that for you. But also remember that we are not advocating for you to shift away from your DEI efforts or initiatives. But we do understand the economic reality that many DEI leaders are now facing in needing to land a job in this market, in what is a rapidly shrinking market. So please know that this is about our guidance in how to help you, but it is a very personal decision. We recognize that on how to handle this. And we just want you equipped with information that can help you. So with that said, Norma, take it away. Introduce yourself, please.
Thank you, Michelle. First of all, it's great to be with you, sharing this information to our clients and to our audience who is just waiting to hear what happens and what they can do with what's going on. As you mentioned, Michelle, I'm very happy to be a newly promoted director of coaching, which expands the reach of the work that I can do to benefit D&S clients and really anybody who wants to hear about what we do. But besides that, I come at this from a developmental psychology perspective. I've worked with changes over the lifetime for many, many years, have undergone a lot of career transitions myself. And right now I'm at the position where I can create, I can innovate, and I can contribute to our field. And I'm really looking forward to talking about how to translate that DEI experience into our world. Also thinking about that many things are changing, but many are staying the same because we still have to talk about our achievements. We still have to talk about what we contribute, and we still have to remain true to ourselves in terms of what we want to do. So I loved it when you said we're not advocating for any changes or for people to do anything differently. It's your choice. And I'd like to reinforce that. You do with your career what you think is best for you. These are options, and that's what we're here for. So, speaking of changes, Michelle, what are some of those that we're seeing?
Right. We are seeing a lot of changes, right? Many of us are probably a little worn out just in the last few weeks. of all the changes in the news media and everything that seems to be coming at us so fast. And so, a couple of the things we're starting to see, Norma, we're starting to see a shift from formal DEI programs, diversity, equity, and inclusion, to less formal
Mhm.
sort of programs. So we have had clients reaching out to us daily, to our coaches and writers, saying, I structure formal programs. I talk about this in my resume. Do I need to change it? And if so, what do I change it to? Right. And there's a level of uncertainty that is coming right now. And I think it's true for a lot of us about our careers. And so that uncertainty around what is DEI, right? And is it something that I can still talk about? Do I want to still talk about it? Should I still talk about it? How do I make that decision for myself? Those are questions that I think we're all getting
Yes.
quite often. And then if I do make the choice to remove that terminology from my resume, what do I say instead? How do I talk about my experience? Because I have this depth of experience and impact. And I know you're going to share that here in a few minutes,
Yes.
Norma,
Yes.
about, what is the impact that we have? And how do I translate that, getting the reader's attention, being able to still engage and do great, meaningful work? Because so many of you who have those experiences engaged in this because you value the work. And so how do you find those opportunities and how do you communicate that in that way? And then how do you manage the stereotypes, right? We're seeing a lot of that. How do I deal with that? Whether it is in an executive role, whether that's in a management role, or even in a board role. We're seeing that with those of you who are seeking board opportunities as well. Is there a shift now from the last couple of months in what is a board looking for? Are they looking for the diversity that they once said they were? Or do I need to rephrase and reframe that content? So, Norma, what we know is that DEI has been a strategic asset for many
Absolutely.
of our clients, right? So, it might be time for some people to reposition that experience if they don't feel comfortable having that DEI language or strategy listed on their
Mhm.
resume. So, can you walk us through how to reposition that experience?
Certainly. I think actually, before I get into repositioning it,
Yeah.
I think you mentioned a very important point that I don't want our audience to miss, and that
Okay.
is that the whole idea of DEI is getting redefined and reframed
Mm,
because over time we've seen leaders who get the most out of their teams by following a lot of principles that at some point didn't have any particular name attached to them. I'm talking about bringing people on board, making them feel valued, creating the environment for them to thrive, even though they may have points of view that are different from those of the rest of the team, and actually growing together. So I'd
mm,
like our audience to think about how that stays true and how we think about what we're doing, regardless of how we call it.
mm. Great point.
Also, I think that we're looking at the experiences. If I were to put myself in the shoes of somebody who's maybe looking at repositioning career documents or figuring out what to do next, I'd like them to think about the broad experience they've had, all the different areas of the business that they've gotten to know over time, the difference they've made in people's lives, the difference they've made on the business's bottom line, all the programs they've created, all the stakeholders they've had to convince to do things, maybe getting a little startup-y within an established business to try something new, maybe having to stretch those dollars until they prove the results of something they were doing,
Mhm,
maybe bringing people together and convincing them that this was the way to go to align them with a vision. So creating that environment, getting those skills, communicating, 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 and communicating once more, building alliances, building partnerships. All that has happened over the years within the DEI space and can continue to happen regardless of how we call it and whatever our clients and job seekers feel comfortable with, because each situation is going to be unique. Each client's needs are going to be unique. And it's really up to those people and those circumstances to make the best call in terms of how much and what they want to emphasize. I am an optimist and I keep thinking that what we've done, what we achieved, and what we can contribute goes on. And that's our best way to present ourselves to whatever we're doing next, whether it's a lateral move, another position somewhere else, a change in industry, ideally not all of them at the same time, but that's how we
Right.
bring our best selves.
And so, Norma, one of the things we want to point out too is that this work not only translates when we're talking about changing into a different DEI role, but and maybe we're not calling it that anymore. But these are also skills that translate if you go to an organization that isn't doing any DEI work. You're talking about that cross-functional collaboration, building partnerships, building consensus among teams, leadership. All of those pieces are things that can be utilized outside of the DEI space as well and communicated in such a way that speaks to an organization that may have diverse, other not diverse programming.
Absolutely. And I think also another contribution that these leaders bring is that they've been role models. They know how to do it
Mhm.
for other people who are coming along. So the mentorship, the team development, all those are skills that can be used in other contexts. It's
Right.
just a matter of how we present that story and how we show that we're adaptable and flexible and we can move with the organizations to where they're going while still being ourselves and doing the best we can within what we do.
Right.
So, any other skills that you can think of that we can
Oh
probably
my
bring?
gosh.
Because
There
the
are
list is
so
long.
many skills, right? The list is long, right? So when I think about the skills that will translate to other industries, other titles, things like that, I am thinking about project management. I
Yes.
am thinking about project coordination.
Mhm.
I'm thinking about stakeholder engagement, right? These are all phrases and skills that we can add to a resume. Those are those keywords, right?
Yes.
We have clients ask us every day, does my resume have the right keywords? Right, regardless of background, does my resume have the right keywords?
What matters is what
So,
you did. We'll
right,
figure out what to call it later.
exactly. And so, but we know that these are phrases and verbiage that are often sought out in a
Yes.
diverse amount of positions and companies, whether that be public, private, etc. So, impact, cost savings, scaling
Mhm.
programs or organizations, right? That's a big one today. Program development, process improvement, communication, when you were talking about the communication piece a minute ago, how important that is, right?
Yes.
And certainly you have expertise in communicating to diverse audiences if you're an expert in DEI. But in, when we talk about the resume, if you're going to rework that, do we instead talk about your broader communication skills, right? And the
Yes.
audience it attracted, that kind of the increase in viewership, in revenue, something like that, that we can tie it to. We talk about creativity. We talk about resilience, organizational resilience, right? So
Yes.
perhaps you have led a transformation in an organization that is now recovering from a downturn, something like that, right? There are really great ways to talk about the scaling, the resilience, strategic planning, adaptability. These are all things that can make a big difference as we continue to grow that. So when we're talking about those skills, Norma, How do we translate those skills into measurable impact and accomplishment that grabs the attention? What do we say all the time, right? Your resume
Yes,
is about you, not for you, right? And we want accomplishment driven information. And we
yes,
always lead with the impact. So when you are writing that resume and you're trying to figure out how to create that bullet point to talk about your accomplishments, you want to start with the impact first and then the how in every sentence or every bullet point, wherever possible. So when we do that, but in order to do that, we got to understand the impact. So walk
absolutely.
us through identifying the measurable impact.
Perfect. Before I do that, I'd like to get back to a point that you
Please.
made that was stakeholder management. I think that in the times we're living, being able to show that we can communicate up, down, across, on every which possible way helps.
Diagonally
Yeah,
around the
diagonal,
bend.
whatever. It's
Right.
yeah, even if going in circles, it's what you need to
Right.
do it. Communicating and handling different people's expectations, needs for communication, for data, for whatever it is going to be really important. And that's something
Mhm.
that we can show in impact in terms of impact with the metrics. We keep telling our clients, as you're saying, lead with the impact, get me the numbers.
Mhm.
We're leaders. We're looking at numbers, we're looking at metrics. Don't wait until you're going to be updating your resume to get that information. And just like you're referring to other phrases that we use in
Right.
these lives and in other
Right.
meetings that we've had, I keep asking people to keep their information updated and have it available for when they need it.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, getting those metrics. Something else that I'd like our audience to do is own the results.
Oh,
We're
thank you.
yes, I see.
This is my hot topic. Thank you
Oh
for
yeah,
bringing that up.
yeah. And in coaching, it comes up a lot in among your clients and mine when we keep hearing the
Mhm.
we did this, we achieved this, we brought down the cost. Where were you?
Mhm. At the front. Lead.
Yes, you were leading, you were promoting, you were encouraging, you were leveraging, you were using all those verbs that we can find lists of everywhere.
Mhm.
Own what you did. They wouldn't have done it without you.
Right.
So give credit to them, but don't forget to get your own. Because at the
Amen.
at the end of the story, you're the one who's going to be getting that position, and you're the one who's going to be facilitating experiences for other people who will be part of your team. So it's also important to give context. We're
Mhm.
looking at transferable skills, but somehow we need to describe if the group, regardless of what group was of 15 or 50. It makes
Mhm.
a difference in terms of the
Mhm.
complexity of the work you were doing. So give the reader some idea of how big the scope or how specialized that scope was when you're
Mhm.
placing those metrics. Don't
Mhm.
just give the numbers that Norma's talking about. Place them in context. Explain the scope, explain how you got there. You managed, you were promoted, you were recruited, you were stolen from another competitor and brought on board.
Right. That sounds so devious. We might not want to
Yes.
use stolen in the
Yeah,
resume, right?
stolen we don't want to use, but we can find ways
Right.
more appropriate for the
Right.
setting and for the
Mhm.
documents to say that.
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
even if that's the case, it speaks to how held I mean how well you're held in terms of esteem and value in your community because
Mhm.
somebody's interested in bringing you.
Right.
So one thing I want to make sure that we don't miss out on is that being confident about what we do and being convincing with the language
Mhm.
we use. This is not a time to hedge. It's
Right.
not the possiblies, likelies, maybes, I sort of did maybe. That's not it.
Mhm.
Clearly, convincing, and confident. And I know that sometimes our clients are kind of stumbling in that confidence
Mhm.
area. So maybe Michelle,
Right.
you can get into some
Yeah.
of the things that we're seeing and what we do.
Right. So I'm going to back up for a second, just like you did a minute ago, and
Okay.
call out one of your bullet points as well that I think is so important. And that is really starting to think about when you write those accomplishments, like you said, it's that context piece.
Mhm,
So I have a rule that if I am reading a resume or writing one,
mhm.
although we have an awesome team that does so much of that today
Oh, yeah.
for us, but as we're writing that bullet point, if I can get to the end of the sentence, if I can't answer the "so what" question,
Mhm.
right? If I say
Love
"so
it.
what" and the bullet point doesn't fill me in, it's not complete. And we have to be really
Right.
concise when we're writing these accomplishments too, right? So no more than a sentence or two in a bullet point. We really want
Mhm.
to try to get it into a sentence if we can. No more than about 2 lines per bullet point, if at all humanly possible. So really think about how you're positioning that expertise, right? So maybe you launched a DEI program from inception for
Mhm.
your organization and it had this much impact, right? Could we then, Norma, rephrase that to talk about the impact of the program and what the outcome
Yes.
was by launching a organizational training or a development program or a culture development program within the course within the first 6 months of employment? I'm making up numbers here, but does that make sense for you in how
Yes.
we position that?
Yes, I love that example, Michelle, because it gets at the impact, it gets at the what, and it gets at the context.
Right.
It helps the reader get that snapshot and go, I want to interview this person because
Right.
I need the programs to be developed. I need to change the culture of whatever area of my business is. It's not producing whatever, it's not happening, or I'd
Right.
like to improve it even more as we're
Right.
scaling.
Right.
And those are the bullets that are going to help create that interest in our clients and helping them open the door for that next step, that interview.
Right. Right. Because our goal is to make the reader want to know you better.
Yes, absolutely. That's the whole
Right.
point of the resume.
Right. Right. It's not to give everything away, but
Uh-uh.
it is to give enough away to make the reader want to know more.
Yes, and to understand enough so that they know that it's not a waste of time to
Right.
bring you for an interview.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So we were
So,
talking about confidence
yes.
and building confidence, right? So when we make a purposeful shift, it can feel there's a lot of imposter syndrome,
Mhm.
I think, that comes with some of that, right? I think that there's a real opportunity here to boost confidence, but it takes work to
Yes.
do that. And especially when society is telling us the work we've done is no longer of interest or no longer valued in the greater scheme of things. And so how do we then remain confident as we reposition these things? I think there's a couple things that we can do. Number one, own your accomplishments and your achievements. Again, we are not suggesting in any way that your accomplishments and your achievements aren't valuable because we believe they are. What we want to make sure of, though, is that you position them in such a way, if you choose to really get that reader's attention. So, speaking their
Yes.
language, because again, resume is about you, not for you.
Yeah.
So, we're speaking, Norma's laughing because I say this literally 9 times a day.
Yeah, I
Um,
almost dream about that phrase.
Sorry. And so,
Please. That's great
but
because it means that it's getting down across
it's getting
down,
there.
up, in
Yeah,
every direction in our team.
right. Right.
That's how
And
important that is.
right. And so when we write in a way that speaks to the need of the reader, and so our audience is shifting. So now we
Mhm.
shift, if we choose to a different audience. And when we do that, we're phrasing in a way that makes sense for the reader. And that hopefully will build you some confidence. So get comfortable, talk with a friend who really helps you, talk with a coach, reach out to us. We can help you with some coaching around this. We have been doing multiple coaching sessions around this in the last few weeks to
Yes.
talk about how to get comfortable with the phrasing so it still feels like your words. That's the other thing. We want to make sure that the resume, whether you're writing it or you're having us write it, we want to make sure that it feels like your words, your language. right? Your verbiage, so that you're comfortable when someone says, tell me about, and they read through that bullet point in the interview, it still sounds like you,
Yeah. Michelle,
right?
I think we want to also add to the confidence piece, not only in the writing and during the interview, but those lumps that people
Mm,
feel
yeah.
when they're going through job searches. I was thinking along the lines of wellness and taking care
Mm,
of ourselves
yeah. So true.
and
So
how
true.
drained we can be, especially when we're making a change. You
Absolutely.
and I have done that, so we know what it feels like.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think one of the things I heard a phrase recently. You know, my mother in law used to say, if you didn't get a good night's sleep, it's because you didn't work hard enough to earn the rest.
Ooh,
And she was old school. And,
interesting.
but I heard a different spin on that the other day, which is, did you rest well enough to work hard?
Love it.
Love it. Game changer, right? Did you
Yes.
rest well enough to work hard? So this is hard work. This career shift, this change in thought process, anytime you go to market, put yourself out there and go to market for a new career or a new position, whether by choice or by circumstance, is difficult. It's a
Yes.
full-time job. Our clients tell us all the time, Norma, oh my gosh, I had no idea how much time this was
Yes.
going to take,
So they
right?
have to start breaking down the time and
Breaking
making
down the
chunks
time. Right.
and figuring out, okay, I'm going to take a break. Oh no, I'm not going to make 200 calls in one day because that's not realistic.
Right. Right.
All of that comes into play,
Yeah,
regardless
it
of
does.
what you're doing.
Right. And surround yourself with people who are going to help you, who are going to boost your spirits, those friends, those colleagues, those members of your network, reach out to them, who are going to be your champions, your advocates, your sponsors. That's so important. Reach
Yes.
out to your mentors during this time, and make sure that you're surrounding yourself with people who can help you move forward. The flip side to that is manage the things that drain you during
Yes.
this process, right? So, you know,
Absolutely.
we have a household rule that we turn off the news at 5 o'clock
Love it.
because it's just too much for me, if I'm being candid. And so I can manage it okay in the morning. For some reason, I wasn't managing it well at night. So 5 p.m., that's the end of my news cycle for
Yeah.
the day. Or is there a person that's constantly asking you, how's your search going? How's your search going? How's your search going? Right? They are probably well meaning, but they might be someone you want to limit time with if you can, right? So manage your world in such a way that helps you keep and preserve your energy up, keep your energy up and preserve it. And that will also help with the confidence because when we're tired, when we're worn out, we start to, that imposter syndrome, we start to feel it.
Yes. I really like the idea of boundaries and keeping a healthy
Mhm.
space where we can just lie back and think about nothing if that's all we need to do to recharge and to be ready for that next day to continue doing what we're doing.
Absolutely. So I think anytime you can, you know, be well prepared
Mhm.
in your search, right? Having those documents ready, having the practice your interviewing. I am a big proponent, Norma, I believe you are as well, in having an interview strategy as
Yes.
opposed to rehearsed answers to questions.
Yes.
At the leadership levels that many of you, I believe, are on this call, we want to make sure that you have a strategy. So when someone says, tell me about X, you're like, okay, I know exactly where to go with that,
And
right?
that
As
brings something
go for
really
it.
important that I think we need to do. While you're
Mhm,
mentioning it, it triggered the thought. A
mhm,
strategy also applies to how you're going to handle whether during interviews or with those people who are very well meaning but who drain you.
mm,
Those questions that you're going every day, please, I hope that I don't get that asked. I don't want that question. The best way to overcome that and not come across as frazzled or unprepared or anything is to have an answer ready,
mhm,
something you can draw from
mhm,
when you get the question, like how did you get here? Where did you get that experience? Which may or may not be a question you want to answer at the moment.
right.
you're ready to explain and to say it succinctly, out of the way, and you don't get drained.
You bet.
Be ready for those please don't ask me questions, as we call them in
Hmm.
interviewing. Any
So
sensitive
great
issue.
point. Great point. I think having that strategy in place, so
Mhm.
okay, if I'm asked this topic, even if it's one I don't like, I'm prepared. I know the story I'm going to draw from. I'm going to keep my answers succinct, and I'm not going to panic when someone says, "Well, was that DEI experience?"
Yeah.
Instead, I'm going to have my story ready and be comfortable in sharing that background and that antidote. So
Yes.
Norma, we are bumping up at 12:30. I know
Oh
we
dear.
told people we would
Already.
go already. It went by fast, and so I know we warned people we might go over, but we still want to be mindful of
Of
everyone's
course.
time. So give us your last tips. What have we not covered? Tell me a little bit about your tips on how to adapt and thrive in this market.
One of the things that I think our audience would like to take home is to ask themselves what they want to do next and what they could do after that next. What do I
Great
have to
point.
do immediately? What do I want to? What are my needs right now? What can I do later that allows me to see how maybe things change and how can I adapt further?
Mhm.
So it's looking at career planning not only for the immediate results that you want, but also longer term. Also, something that I would like our audience to keep in mind is to do more research about the culture of wherever you're going.
Mm.
Regardless of how things are called, you want to make sure that you're a good fit for the place because
Mhm.
you're going to bring a lot. And I'm sorry?
Interview the interviewer, as they
Interview
say.
the interviewer. And even before the interview of the interviewer,
Mhm.
talk to people, get those network contacts going, and find out what's really going on because you want to go to a place where you're comfortable doing the work you're going to be doing. Also, be intentional. It's been the word of the week with my clients this week. Be intentional. Don't count on randomness. If you're going to a conference, find out who's going to be there and who you have to meet to make sure that you're not expecting just to bump into them in the hallway.
Mhm.
Have a plan. This is the time to be even more strategic than ever because you have a lot to offer and there's a lot out there that you can continue to do. You just have to find the way.
Mhm.
So, Michelle, I could go on forever. You let me know if we have more time.
What's your best final tip?
Believe in yourself.
Mm, yeah.
Believe in yourself. There are going to be a lot of naysayers around for
Mhm.
whatever you're going to do. But
Mhm.
if you still every morning you get up in the morning and I'm going to do this. I am going to do this. I believe in myself. I have what it takes. That's your
Mhm.
first major step for success.
Agreed. Agreed. I think that's great advice. And, reach out to us as you have questions. I'll have Carmen put her link again in the chat. I think she put it in the beginning of this call as well. But as we mentioned before, Carmen Poff is our client success director. She's a rock star,
Yes.
and she can guide you through how we can help. So if you have questions about how we can help you through this process, she's going to walk you through those services, timelines, and fees that meet your unique need. Not everybody's needs are the same, and she's going to help you determine how we can help you and what that structure looks like. So
And she's great at
um,
matching people with coaches and writers.
she is, and we have a great group of coaches and writers here who are ready and willing to help. And Carmen, as Norma mentioned, is excellent at pairing based on needs. So do reach out to her. If there was a tip that was exceptionally helpful for you today, put it in the chat. We would love to hear that. And again, schedule a call with Carmen. But, Norma, thank you for joining the LinkedIn Live this week.
Oh, thank you for having me, Michelle. I've enjoyed working with you and dealing with a topic that is very sensitive but very important for our clients and our audience in general. So thank you
Hopefully
for the opportunity.
we've provided some assistance
I
today.
hope
So
so.
thank you all so much. Take care, and we will be back in 2 weeks. LinkedIn Live Deborah will be back with me, and we'll be talking about interview preparation and flawless, foolproof interviewing as part of your search strategy. So take care, everybody.
Bye bye.